was not loud. It wasn't chaotic. It wasn't tense in the way people shout or argue. Instead, it was quiet in the way that only respected rooms become. The kind of silence that carries history, discipline, and pride. It was September of 2017, inside the headquarters of the China Martial Arts Association in Beijing. Masters from across Asia had gathered for an international cultural exchange. Many of them were men and women who had devoted not years, but entire lifetimes, to martial arts. Karate masters from Japan, Taekwondo grandmasters from Korea, silent practitioners from Indonesia, and of course, legendary Kung Fu masters from China itself. Each delegation had come not to fight, but to demonstrate, to share tradition, philosophy, and the spirit of their art. At least, that was the intention. When the Filipino delegation was announced, a subtle shift passed through the room. They were not flashy. They did not wear elaborate robes or silk uniforms. Their weapons were simple, sticks, blades, tools that looked more practical than ceremonial. Standing near the front of the hall was Master Lu Chun. In the martial arts world, his name carried weight. 50 years of teaching, a lineage traced back to Shaolin. A man who had trained emperor's guards, national champions, and instructors who would go on to teach thousands more. As the Filipino martial artist stepped forward, Master Lu Chun let out a soft laugh. It wasn't cruel, but it was unmistakably dismissive. The sound echoed in the quiet hall. Filipino martial arts? He said in Mandarin, before switching to English so everyone could understand. You mean stick fighting, eskrima? A few people chuckled nervously. Others shifted in their seats. Master Lu Chun continued. These are basic weapon techniques, he said. Not true martial arts. The words hung heavy in the air. Kung Fu has 3,000 years of recorded history, he added. It contains philosophy, internal energy cultivation, spiritual discipline. What does Filipino martial arts offer? He paused, scanning the room. Stick patterns, knife movements, practical fighting. No internal cultivation, no deep forms, no spiritual dimension. Some masters nodded in agreement. Others remained silent, unsure. Master Lu Chun grew more confident. I have studied martial arts for 50 years, he said. I have mastered the tiger, the crane, the leopard, the snake, and the dragon styles. Each one takes decades. Each movement trains breath, balance, mind, and spirit. He gestured toward a framed photograph of a Kung Fu form displayed on the wall. This is the dragon form, he said. 108 movements, each with precise breathing. It takes 10 years just to begin understanding it. Then he looked back toward the Filipino practitioner. What comparison is there? He asked. Your art may work in the street, but it lacks depth. It lacks artistry. It lacks mastery. The Filipino martial artist did not interrupt. He did not raise his voice. He did not show anger. He did not defend himself with words. Instead, he stood quietly, listening. His name was Antonio Reyes. Antonio was not young, but he was not old. His movements were relaxed. His posture was calm. He carried himself not with arrogance, but with ease, the kind that comes from long experience. When the moderator invited him to respond, Antonio simply nodded. He stepped forward. No speech, no argument, no attempt to impress. He held a single rattan stick in his hand. May I demonstrate? He asked softly. There was hesitation in the room. Master Lu Chun smiled politely, confident. Please, he said. Antonio stepped onto the mat. He did not bow dramatically. He did not strike a pose. He simply stood still. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then he moved. Not fast, not slow, but precise. The stick came alive in his hands, tracing arcs that were smooth and controlled. His feet shifted subtly, almost unnoticed. Every strike flowed into the next, not as a memorized pattern, but as a conversation between body and weapon. The room began to change. Antonio transitioned from stick to knife, then from knife to empty hands. Each movement mirrored the previous one, revealing something unexpected. This was not just weapon fighting. It was a system. The audience leaned forward. Antonio demonstrated how the same motion used to strike with a stick could redirect an opponent's force. How a blade technique could become a lock, a throw, or a disarm without the weapon at all. There were no wasted movements, no exaggerated poses, no unnecessary flourishes. Everything was efficient, purposeful. At one point, Antonio paused and addressed the room. In Filipino martial arts, he said calmly, we train for reality. But reality teaches humility. He resumed. As the demonstration continued, even the skeptical masters grew quiet. Antonio closed his eyes briefly and performed a sequence slowly. so slowly that each breath, each shift of weight, became visible. "This," he said, "is our meditation. No chanting, no incense, no rigid stance, just awareness." When he finished, he bowed, not deeply, not dramatically, but respectfully. The room did not erupt in applause. It remained silent. Then something unexpected happened. Master Luchin stood up. Slowly, he walked toward the mat. For a moment, no one knew what he would say. "I was wrong," he said. The words surprised everyone, including himself. "I believe depth required complexity," he continued. "I believe spirituality had to look a certain way." He looked at Antonio. "But what you showed is refinement, not simplicity." He paused. "Your art does not seek admiration," he said. "It seeks survival, awareness, and respect." Master Luchin bowed, not as a master to a student, but as an equal. That moment became the most talked about event of the summit. Not because someone won, but because someone learned. Because pride gave way to understanding. And because two traditions, born from different histories, recognized the same truth. True mastery is not loud. It does not mock. It does not need to prove itself. It reveals itself quietly to those willing to see. And if this story touched you in anywhere, or moved your attention to listening all the way through, subscribe for more powerful stories by Island History. Because sometimes, the greatest lessons come from the places we least expect.